Hey friends, and welcome to day 15 of our Advent Calendar series. My name's Emma LaFave, and today we're going to be painting a simple but beautiful bow. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single video this month. So let's jump in and get started. Okay friends, so today we are going to be painting a really cute red bow, and our lesson today is going to be focusing mostly on highlights and shadows and just kind of how to make things look a bit more realistic. So grab yourself a pencil and an eraser so we can sketch it out first. Then I am painting on my Arches cold press watercolor paper, size 3 by 4 inches approximately. Then I have my Winsor Newton professional watercolors, and I have a size 2 and a size 6 round brush, and we're ready to go. Okay, so let's try and sketch it out first. I'm going to try and sketch a bit darker so you guys can see a bit better, but you guys make sure that you sketch lighter so you don't see those pencil marks underneath. Okay, so let's start where the bow kind of gathers together in the middle. And it doesn't have to be a super realistic bow. I feel like, should I go sideways maybe? I feel like it's a, hold on. I'm going to turn it sideways to get more volume with the bow. Okay, so I'm going to start by creating this kind of rectangle shape, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't want it to be perfect. You want it to be a little bit more rounded. Again, I'm going to try and make it darker. Okay, and then we're just going to, you know what? I'm not going to draw the folds in it because we're going to use the paint to do that. Then I'm going to do a line up this way, line up this way, like so. Coming back, and I'm going to do a little kind of under piece here where you would see the the inside of the bow, like that. You can kind of like just cut across if you'd like so. And then remember, there's going to be the bottom part of it gathering out from the base of where it's all gathered together. So make it look really bunched up there. And then you could do kind of like a pointed bottom, however you want to do it. If you want to make it like triangular, whatever kind of speaks to you. Actually, like this, like that, like that. I feel like I want my bow a little bit shorter and fatter. I'm gonna go like this. There we go. That's the shape I want. Okay, so I'm gonna have that curved part like kind of coming underneath, and it hits right at the edge here, and then there will not be a line up here. So hopefully you get what I'm talking about. Okay, so there is your outline. I made it a little bit fatter, chunkier, and then you just want that curve so you can see kind of the inside of that bow. All right, so then you're going to take your eraser, just make everything lighter so you don't see the pencil marks underneath. Okay, and then we have our outline. So let's begin. And again, with watercolor, you always want to work light to dark. So we're going to start with a light wash over the whole thing with a red or whatever color you'd like to use. So I'm just using my Winsor red and use a light wash over the whole thing. We're going to be doing this in layers to layer up those shadows and make it look a little bit more realistic is the word I'm looking for. So it's just not like a flat looking bow. And I'm using a decent amount of water. Okay, there's not, you want to keep it wet for a little bit longer to see if we can add some more color in there without it drying too fast. So I keep dipping my paintbrush in the water and I'm just moving it around. Okay, it's not really pooling in any areas, but I'm using my brush to move it around. Okay, and this should be the lightest value on your bow. It's the lightest highlight color. And if you really want to have a bit lighter of a highlight, you could always dry off your brush and just lift some color where you would like some highlight. Like that, maybe. It's like a little bit on here and here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start dropping in some more pigment. Okay, so the lightest part is where it would curve. And that's where the highlight would be. So any parts that are a bit further away would be a bit darker. Now mine started to dry here, so that's why I'm getting sharper lines. But I'll show you how I'm going to blend that out. I'm going to add some here. Here, let's wash off that brush, dry it a bit, blend it out. Okay, grab a bit more color. Just going to go around. I want to leave a highlight right here on the bow. A little bit more color there. And a highlight right here. So I'm just going around those areas with a bit more color while it's still wet. And I can even start to deepen it a little bit more, just so it's a nice bright red while it's still wet. If it's not still wet, you might want to wet the whole thing again with just a really light wash of water, just so it's wet, so you can grab some more color. And the reason why I do this when it's still wet is just because you get a bit of a softer blend, I find. You can achieve it when it's dry and then you just blend it out, but sometimes I just find this a little bit easier in some ways. Okay. So that's all I'm going to do for the wet on wet. But I've kind of marked out where I wanted my highlights. I have some here on the tails, as I'm going to call them, and then here on the top part of the bow and over here. And then a little bit, not too much, on the center, okay? So now we're going to let that completely dry. Okay, now that it's dry, we're going to add in our shadows, and I'm using my smaller size 2 for this. So I'm going to start by just grabbing my plain red. We're not going to add any darker shadows just yet. We'll do that at the end. So now again, I'm just placing wet on dry of where I want my shadows to be. So I'm going to place it here, a little bit there, and then I'm going to wash off my brush, dry it a bit, just blend out that edge just so it's not super stark, you know what I mean? Not a hard edge. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. And then here, there's going to be like a little fold, and maybe along here a bit. And again, see how like intense that edge is? I'm just going to wash off my brush, dry it on my paper towel, just touch the edge of it, and blend it out. Again, wash it off, dry it, and just blend it out, just so you get a softer edge. Okay, I'm going to add shadow here, so it's like it's kind of bending in here. And remember, we have this bottom part that is going to be a lot darker because it's the underneath. So there, and then maybe over here too. Wash off my brush, dry it, blend out that edge and that edge. Just keep washing and drying off your brush. If you feel like you're moving around too much pigment, you just got to wash it off, dry it again, so there's no pigment on your brush to push around. Okay. Let's do the other side. So this is the main highlight. So I'm going to put a shadow in here a bit, wash off my brush, dry it, blend it out. And it will get deeper and deeper the more we add, and then the darker the red we add. And then I'm just going to kind of block out some of the folds here. So just like a little line there. Like that. Wash off my brush and just kind of soften it just a little. Same thing on these tails. So closer to where the top part of the bow is, there's going to be more shadow there. because it's all bunched up and folded. And because it's folded, you're going to have a highlight here. This is going to be a longer video, isn't it? Sorry. Tried to make them simpler, but I also want to teach you these really cool, important techniques for making things look a little bit more realistic. Okay, and then this one is going to have a little bit of a curve in it as well, or like a little bunched up area. Little highlight there. You can blend it out a bit. Like so. Blend that out a bit. Okay, and then we're gonna wait for that layer to completely dry. Okay, and now we're on our last layer, and this is where we're gonna add more shadows. So I'm gonna actually grab a little bit of a green, or you can add black to make a darker red. And we're gonna start adding our shadows in. So I wanna do the behind here. I didn't do that part correctly, that's okay. Like the underneath part here. Essentially, you're just creating a brown. It's a little bit more on the red side. Okay. Sorry if you had, I probably had to cut that part out because of the sun. Just got really hot and bright in my room. So I just mixed red and brown, a bit more on the red side, so it's a darker red. And I just did the underneath part here that we marked out before. And you can even add just like a little bit of black if you want to make your red darker. I'm just going to add it to the corners of this part. Like that, so it looks a bit more intense there. This part was supposed to be a bit more red. My bad. Okay. And then we can start marking in those shadows with this dark kind of red that we made. So just a little bit more line work on the shadows here. Again, remember there's that little kind of crease in there and here. And then what I'm going to do is wash off my brush, dry it a bit, blend it out like we've been doing so it's not so harsh. And it just gives it a little bit more depth, like it's curved. Same thing over here. Wash it off, dry it, blend it out a bit more. Add a bit more red to it, I think. Here, wash, dry, blend out those edges. And really you can deepen a bit more if you need to. Maybe we'll do that a bit more when it's dry. Grab that dark red again. Here. A bit more red. I get a bit of black. Wash, dry, blend it out. Like that. And then closer to where it's all bunched up, we're just gonna do a couple little, creases like that. Some of it is a little bit not as blended as I want it to be, but that's okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's more realistic, but it's not realism, if that makes sense. Okay. Okay, and then the last part is down below here. So we want to get nice and deep with some of those shadows, especially where it's all bunched up here. Wash, dry, blend it out. Maybe a little bit more. Same on this one. Right next to the highlight here. Around there. Wash, dry, blend it. Now if it's not working and it's just like looking a little bit weird, you can always just do a flatter bow. It doesn't have to be like this. And this is something you can just work at. Okay? It's not gonna, you know, be perfect overnight or your first time. Never is. Mine never is. So just keep working at it. But I feel like that's just about done. But I kind of want to intensify some of the shadows a bit. Like in here. Just going a little bit darker. And you can just keep playing around. Like so. And there's our bow. It's a little bit more on the realistic side, but not realism. So keep that in mind. Okay, and there we go. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching. And don't forget, if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single video this month. Have a great day, guys. Bye.